Hello there, I'm Cody and welcome to my channel. I'm here to provide you some excellent crypto information, including talking about what is going on with Bitcoin today. And in today's video, I've got something fantastic to share with you guys, some really important market insights. But before I get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X. So Bitcoin today has been going nowhere. It's still stuck at about 26,200. If you take a look at our fear and greed index, right now it's at about 38, so I'd say that's very close to fear. However, if you take a look at the traditional equities and you go over to CNN's fear and greed index, for instance, you'll see that the traditional equities right now are at a 25 or extreme fear. And the traditional equities in the past couple of days have gotten hit extremely hard. And the fact that Bitcoin is barely down in the past week, only down 3%, is actually a testament to the Bitcoin community and the fact that we've had this rapid flush of a huge amount of short liquidity and a huge amount of traders out of the space. And now you have more the hardcore people who are holding it for the long run, which I think is very healthy. Now, one of Bitcoin's primary reasons why it is kind of depressed and why it hasn't really been taking off is because of this thing right here, the dollar index, which measures the strength of the dollar against a basket of currencies. And we've talked about the dollar index quite a bit, but this week the dollar index has jumped up almost 1%, which normally it does not go up that high. So we can go ahead and take a look at the huge number of just green candles here at about 11 green weekly candles. And the dollar has been on absolute fire ever since about the 17th of July. So you may be asking yourself, why am I even talking about the dollar index? Well, the reason why I'm talking about the dollar index is if you put it up right next to Bitcoin and you go ahead and select the new price scale, okay, you can see Bitcoin here is in this turquoise color. You can see that it tends to share an opposite sort of relationship, an inverse relationship with the strength of the dollar. In fact, if we zoom out a little bit, again, this is the weekly, we can see that when the dollar was weak, Bitcoin was strong, and when the dollar was strong, Bitcoin was incredibly weak. And you can see here that when the dollar was up in September, October, Bitcoin was almost at its lows. And then as soon as it started falling, Bitcoin started rising and rising up until about we saw that the 17th or so of July when Bitcoin was at about 30,000, 31,000. Now we're seeing Bitcoin back off significantly from that point because the dollar has been just absolutely on a tear lately. And one of the reasons for this is because of the Fed and the incredibly aggressive Fed policy that we've seen lately. The demand for the dollar has also been incredibly strong in parts of the world. And this kind of shows you that in the traditional equity market, you're having a large number of people, investors and traders, who are sitting in cash instead of investing in equities like Bitcoin or stocks or bonds or what have you. They're sitting on the cash. They're sitting on their cash on the sidelines, and they're not buying those equities. So this right now, as long as the dollar index keeps continuing to move higher, it's going to provide selling pressure on Bitcoin. Now, the dollar index, we can see the resistance right now as at about 107 or so. That's the next level of resistance for the dollar index. And if it pushes through this level, what we're looking at here after that point is another resistance level at 108. Another one at about 109 or 110, and then finally up here at about 113. So there are quite a few resistance levels left for it to hit. Next, I want to talk about Bitcoin's support and resistance levels. So Bitcoin, as I said before, has really just been going sideways. But one thing you guys want to pay attention to here is that 200-week moving average. That's sitting at about 25,600. I expect that to wind up being strong support. If we zoom in here on the daily, we can look at the 200-day moving average, which should be in this case, resistance. Okay, you'll notice today's candle that we came in, this candle right here has an incredibly long wick to the upside, implying that it tried to push to this level and then it quickly got sold off. In fact, I want to go ahead and take a look at the futures market, and that'll kind of more explain what happened with today's price action. So if we look at our futures market, we can see here, if you're looking at the hourly, we saw a huge run up for the Bitcoin price going all the way up to 26,800. And we saw this run up here was fueled largely by a large number of short liquidations, about $10 million or so worth of short liquidations. That pushed the price all the way up. Then we had a bunch of longs enter in the market here. The longs try to push the price up as high as possible, and then it met with resistance. And then after that point, we see after the next couple of hours, we have a significant long liquidation event happen of about $5.7 million worth of longs. So longs got liquidated, open interest goes down pretty large. And then we see an increase in the funding rate up here. It's positive, so longs have regained momentum in the market. So this huge spike that we saw today was largely due to the fact that the traders were exploiting a short squeeze, and then the longs got basically carried away, and then they got liquidated, and it pushed the price all the way back down again. So we had this huge amount of volatility for today. But looking at Bitcoin's overall monthly record, we can actually see that Bitcoin is green for the month of September, which again is very rare. I've talked about Bitcoin seasonality quite a few times on this channel, but the fact is that if we can exit September with a green print here, it's very likely that we'll wind up getting a green print in October as well, which I think would be very nice for the hodlers. Now, another thing I want to talk about is major buyers in Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor recently posted on Twitter that his firm MicroStrategy acquired an additional 5,400 Bitcoin, okay, at a price of about $27,000 per Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, continues to accumulate even during this kangaroo market in which there's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and in a market in which the traditional investors are not buying equities or assets, they are selling at this point. Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are saying, in fact, that they should be buying instead of selling, okay? Very interesting. Now they hold 158,000 Bitcoin. All right, that's pretty crazy for approximately $4.68 billion. Okay. Now you'll notice that we are still below the average price, his average price of 29,582, but it's very close. It seems like to me they're going to continue to average down and average down and average down, and then eventually they will be above this level and in pure profit. Now, Michael Saylor is not the only one who's been buying Bitcoin. If we take a look at our Bitcoin exchange reserve, we can see here that we're actually down to 2.38 million Bitcoin on the exchanges, okay? So we've seen it come down pretty far in the past month. We've seen this large slope here and accelerating all the way down here to about the 19th or so of September. And then we see a little bit of sideways action, and it continued to move lower. So more people are buying Bitcoin, they're taking their Bitcoin off of the exchanges, and they're self-custodying it. If we take a look at Bitcoin addresses with a balance of at least one Bitcoin, we're actually up to 1,021,474 addresses with at least one Bitcoin. Again, that's a good thing because the more addresses that hold Bitcoin, the more equal distribution of Bitcoin, and that's just good for blockchain dynamics and the fighting against the concentration of wealth on the blockchain. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the major economic events and the major economic reports going on this week. We already talked about what was happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in my last video, but I want to give you a quick update on this. So Thursday, we have jobless claims and the GDP revision. Those are the things I'm going to be looking at very intensely to see what direction the economy is heading. And then Friday, of course, we have that PCE index as well. That's going to come out at 8:30, okay? Very important, this PCE index. That way it'll tell us whether or not inflation is going down and whether or not the Fed has to pause or continue to raise rates, okay? That's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about Michael Saylor buying such a gigantic amount of Bitcoin at a time in which everybody else is selling. Let me know if you guys have bought any Bitcoin, and I will catch you guys in the next video.